Welcome to the Buddhist Boot Camp podcast. Our intention is to awaken, enlighten, enrich, and inspire a simple and uncomplicated life. Discover the benefits of mindful living with your host, Timber Hawkeye.
Once a month, I host a live video Q&A on Facebook, during which people from all over the world can tune in and ask questions or spark a discussion about ways to implement some of the concepts from Buddhist Boot Camp or Faithfully Religionless into their daily lives. To find out when the next live Q&A will be, subscribe to the email list at BuddhistBootCamp.com to receive one email a month from me with upcoming event information, updates, and food for thought. This podcast is available to you commercial-free thanks to the generosity of listeners just like you who donate $1 a month through patreon.com/BuddhistBootcamp. Without you, there would be no us. You can also find a link to our Patreon page at BuddhistBootcamp.com. The following is a recording from the August 2017 Q&A where I read the question and then see what comes up. Enjoy. Jason Young asked, how do you deal with breakups? I don't just do what I feel, because feelings aren't facts, and I don't just stick to my head. We kind of have a meeting of minds and heart and decide how to respond. You want to be with someone who wants to be with you. You want to spend your life with someone who is just as into you as you are into them. You want to be with someone whose love you don't question, whose trust comes easily and freely, and you want to be with someone who is as invested in you as you are in them. The person who broke up with you clearly doesn't want to be with you, which is, I mean, if anything, the response is, thank you. Thank you for making it really clear for me that you're not the one I want to be with, because the person I want to be with would want to be with me, and you're not that one. It's a very logical approach, but that seems to work for me when the heart wants to spiral out of control. The mind's, come back. Come back, heart. Let's look at this from another perspective, because that's what ends up happening, whether it be through breakups or any political climate, is we get really wrapped up in one single point of view. And that we know intellectually that there's more than one perspective. And so you're looking at it too closely. You're looking at it from only one point of view, and you're not seeing the other side of the picture. So inviting yourself to take a step back is how I deal with it. And when I'm asked what drew me to Buddhism and whatnot, it's always been logic. It just made perfect rational sense. How do you meditate to deal with the death of other people? For the most part, I will be honest and say that I actually deal with it ahead of time. I prepare myself in advance, as we all can, as life prepares us, I believe, inevitably and constantly for the death of other people. From the moment that we're young and our grandparents pass away, and then perhaps our parents or a friend or aunt and uncle or someone, we are immediately introduced to the idea, the fact that everything is temporary, people pass on. And the earlier on we start dealing with this, the easier it gets as we grow older. And I think we can all prepare ourselves, so to speak, emotionally to prepare our response in advance rather than be shocked. I think it actually surprises me when people are shocked when someone passes away, because it's the only thing we know for certain is going to happen. Is it sad? Of course it's sad. And I acknowledge that when I'm sad for me, that it has very little to do with them, because we don't know what happens to us when we die. We have no idea. So any thought of it being terrible or a tragedy or a loss actually speaks of our own lives, not the person who died. It's our own loss. It's our own misfortune. It's a very self-centered approach. And I truly believe that we are here to learn to be completely selfless. I moved from Israel to the States at a young age, and I knew that I probably would never see any of my friends ever again. From that moment on, when someone passed away, I just pretended in my mind, oh, they moved away. And I think that's a really healthy approach of looking at it, because they did. They moved away. They just went somewhere. But I think just shifting that perspective from tragedy, horrible, loss, bad, negative, to, well, that's interesting. I mean, we're all going to pass, and they got to pass. And I don't know why we're so quick to make that worst case scenario assumption that death is such a terrible thing. It may not be. Whoever died may be like blissfully happy wherever they are. We don't know. We have no idea.
And so I'm not suggesting that we create a story in our head that they're floating up in the clouds, but I also advise against creating a story that what happened to them was terrible, because we don't know. And so rest in not knowing. I think that's probably going to be my answer to most of these. But let's go on. Oh, when jealousy creeps in. That's interesting. There's a wonderful book by Neil Donald Walsh called Conversations with God, and he talks a lot about the difference between envy and jealousy. Envy is when, you're a little kid and you see your big sister reach up and open the door because she's taller, and you're envious of that, and you aspire to be like that. You don't hate her for it. There's no negative feelings. You're just envious. And if we don't learn how to deal with that appropriately at a young age, that envy turns to jealousy, which is not healthy. In the same way, anger is very healthy. It's a little indicator that says, hey, something's not aligned here. But if we don't learn how to deal with anger appropriately at a young age, that anger turns to rage, which is not healthy. It's blinding and it's very destructive. So that's a really good way to distinguish between the two. Courtney, how do I cultivate more patience and grace with my 5 kids? I don't know you can. Oh man. I'm joking, of course. Of course it's possible. And I actually have a good friend with quite a few children. And if I understand correctly, what she does is constantly remind herself this is what she wanted. This is her dream come true. She loves being a mother. And yes, it's hard sometimes. But at the end of the day, you wouldn't trade it for the world, right? And so the key is to remind yourself of that in that moment. That's how you can kind of remind yourself, like, this is a choice. Like, I chose this. And yeah, it's a lot harder. I'm not even inclined to say it's a lot harder than you thought it was going to be, because surely you thought having 5 kids was going to be tough. But it's hard, and we need help. And help can come in very different ways, even if it's someone saying, hey, I'll come over for 20 minutes. You can go meditate outside and just not worry about anything for 20 minutes. That could be the gift. Also the gift that it's temporary. Pretty soon they'll all be grown, and you might, if I understand correctly from other people, you might find yourself a few years down the road missing them. So there are many tools, and I advise talking to other parents about this. And I know it's hard because it's almost a taboo for mothers to admit that they're having a hard time, but it's necessary. I think it's really important for us to be vulnerable and be open about it, especially with other mothers, despite the fact that some of them will judge you because they refuse to admit that they also have a hard time sometimes. But talk to other mothers. You're not alone at this, and there are solutions. In fact, the friend I mentioned has another friend with multiple children, and they help each other. So there are times when the one with 5 and the one with 3 takes care of all 8, so the other one can take care of herself, and then they switch places. So it's balance. I think that's a common answer you'll receive from anyone. How do you loosen your grip of unrealistic expectations of a spouse? Oh, Tanya, your answer is in the question. They're unrealistic. As a spouse, you expect your spouse to be loving and supportive and trusting, an unconditional companion on this path. Those are reasonable expectations. Those are actually agreements you have entered into together, something that you and your spouse have agreed to and said, this is what I'm willing to offer you. Anything beyond that is unreasonable. They may feel like, hey, I didn't sign up for this. You sprung this on me later on. Imagine being at a job and all of a sudden your boss expects you to do something that you didn't sign up for. Not only are you not going to do it, you're going to have a lot of resentment towards your boss for asking you to do that. Same thing in a marriage. If your spouse didn't agree to this, if your spouse didn't sign up for this, and you expect it from them, and then furthermore, if they don't deliver, you're upset with them for not delivering something they never told you they would deliver. Again, your answer is in your question. It's your own unrealistic expectations. And how do you loosen your grip? You realize that it's completely self-absorbed, that you at no point took your spouse into consideration. It brings up another discussion that we had when a friend sent me a care package of sorts, and I opened it, and it was really interesting because the friend thought that the gift was it was a very considerate way to say thank you. And realistically, after we've talked about it, she admitted she never took me into consideration when she sent me that gift. She put a bunch of stuff in the box that she liked. Being considerate is part of the things that you can realistically expect from your spouse, but you have to deliver it yourself as well. You got to be considerate, and you can't expect it from others. The best marriage advice is that a healthy marriage is the union of 2 good forgivers. I think ultimately that's what it is. It's about unconditional love, the way you would think of the unconditional love of a dog. I hate to say it, but dogs love you unconditionally. And if we can love our spouses that way, to still have our tail wagging every time they come through the door, and love them even if they got mad at us earlier in the day, and even 12 years down the road still be equally happy to see them, and let go of all that other stuff, of the, as we mentioned, the expectations and the unreasonable demands and whatnot. Love like a puppy. So forgive, move on, learn, be grateful for their presence. And if you have, as someone else mentioned, unreasonable expectations, then be grateful that your spouse has shed light on that. They brought that to your attention, so you know exactly what it is you need to work on, and you wouldn't have known that without their guidance, without their presence in your life. And that's why when I was initially surprised that Zen priests actually get married, have kids, and I thought they would all be celibate, and it's not the case at all. And when I asked why they would even do that, if Zen and Buddhism is all about living a simple and uncomplicated life, why in the world would you make your life so complicated by getting married? The answer was unanimous, that there are things you can learn in a relationship that you can't learn outside of one. Well, we'll take a couple more questions, and then I'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Jeremy asked, how can I help some of my friends understand I choose to live without being in a romantic relationship? They view it as a flaw they need to remedy by having me meet people. They are offended when I decline. Many people get their sense of validation from others. They almost need that presence in their life, someone to validate them, to give them a sense of worth, a sense of value. And they don't see it as such, of course. That's not a very convenient truth. And when they witness someone like you feel validated and at peace and wonderful without someone else, it's very scary to them. It sheds light on, even as far as codependent they may be. Kind of like when I chose not to drink alcohol, many people wanted to remedy that. They said, what's wrong with you? Because the alternative was to look at themselves and ask, why am I choosing to drink alcohol? And that's not a very pretty picture to look at. It's a form of deflection. You don't need to explain it to your friends so they understand. Be okay with them not understanding. Imagine it that it's beyond their comprehension. It's really interesting. I don't think there's anything you need to fix, just like there's nothing they need to fix. That's who they are. And perhaps the moment you accept them for who they are, they can then accept you for who you are. But you can't control them. You can only control you. And this is a recurring theme. Let go of this need to fix people. Just fix yourself. There's plenty of work to do right here, guys. There's no need to go out there and start sweeping the front door of other people. You're robbing them of an opportunity to sweep it themselves, and you're overlooking your own front stoop. So take care of that.
Timber Hakkai is the best-selling author of Faithfully Religionless and Buddhist Boot Camp. For additional information, please visit BuddhistBootCamp.com, where you can order autographed books to support the Prison Library Project, watch Timber's inspiring TED Talk, and join our monthly mailing list. We hope you have enjoyed this episode and invite you to subscribe for more thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being a soldier of peace in the army of love.